This video introduces Achilles tendon rupture phase through exercises for weeks 3 through 8.
By the end of 8 weeks post-op, the athlete has reached the end of phase 2 of rehabilitation. Phase 2 includes weeks 3 through 5 and 6 through 8, dating 9:30 to 11:25. During this phase, the athlete has been immobilized in a walking boot with a half-inch heel lift during weeks 3 through 5 and a quarter-inch heel lift during weeks 6 through 8. The athlete used double crutch-assisted walking until week 6, where the athlete transitioned to single crutch-assisted walking. After week 6, the athlete gradually progressed to full weight-bearing non-crutch-assisted gait in a walking boot. In order to achieve specified goals, previous relevant exercises have been continued as needed per protocol. The athlete will not be able to perform active plantar flexion during weeks 3 through 5. During weeks 6 through 8, active plantar flexion can be performed without resistance. Unrestricted plantar flexion was performed as tolerated at the end of the 8th week. By the end of phase 2, the athlete achieved pain-free, non-assisted gait in a walking boot. The athlete was seen by the team foot and ankle specialist at the end of week 5 and at the end of week 8.
The first problem we are addressing is a fragile tendon repair. When performing a 2-crutch walking assist, we lead with our crutches and injured foot and follow through with our good foot. During weeks 6 through 8, we protect the tendon by remaining in a walking boot with a quarter-inch heel lift and remaining in a partial weight-bearing status. Crutch-assisted walking with one foot involves leading with the injured foot and crutch and following through with the good foot. Keep the crutch opposite the injured limb. The second problem we are addressing is significant edema in the lower leg, foot, and ankle. During weeks 3 through 5, we are addressing this by applying a compression wrap, having milking massage and scar mobs, and working on dorsiflexion active range of motion. Milking massage is performed by applying strokes from distal to proximal along the lower leg. This encourages the removal of edema. When performing scar mobilization, cross-frictional stroke should be applied from distal to proximal. This can also be done by the patient at home. This is very important for preventing adhesion formation at the scar site. When applying a compression wrap to the lower extremity, it is important to start distally and work proximally to prevent cutting off circulation in the lower extremity and encourage edema to flow towards the heart. During weeks 6 through 8, edema is managed by doing ankle pumps, ankle ABCs, and ankle circles in an elevated position, as well as applying game ready with the foot elevated. Here's an example of ankle pumps, ankle circles, and ankle ABCs. We added a Swiss ball to make the exercise more difficult due to the unstable surface. When performing ankle pumps, an appropriate cue is bring your toes up towards your face and then push down on the gas pedal to go down towards the floor. When performing ABCs, instruct the athlete to perform uppercase, followed by lowercase letters. When performing ankle circles, the athlete should move their foot like they're going around the world. Game Ready can treat both edema and pain by combining cold and compression. The third problem we are addressing is pain. During weeks 3 through 5, we address pain through pre-modulated electrical stimulation, ultrasound, and the continuation of ibuprofen as needed. Here, we are using ultrasound more for the non-thermal effects to prevent scar adhesion formation. However, the massage from the ultrasound head also feels good and can help us address pain. We are not using thermal ultrasound by this point in our rehabilitation. That is important to note because thermal ultrasound could exacerbate the inflammation and make our condition worse. During weeks 6 through 8, we will introduce ice massage to manage pain, as well as continue previous interventions which have worked for the patient when treating pain. Ice massage should be applied in strokes from distal to proximal. Ice massage can be done by the patient or by the clinician. Proper application time for ice massage is between 5 and 10 minutes. The fourth problem we are addressing is decreased hip, knee, and ankle strength. During weeks 3 to 5, it is important to note that no active plantar flexion is permitted, so instead we are doing towel crunches, towel side-to-side movements, and marble pickups. Towel crunches are performed by having the athlete place a towel in front of them with their foot on the end. They then scrunch their toes to bring the towel towards them and bunch it up under their foot. Towel side-to-side movement encourages the athlete to gain dorsiflexion while working on inversion and eversion movements while they pull their towel from lateral to medial. To increase the difficulty of towel scrunches and towel side-to-side movements, a weight can be added on the end of the towel. Here you see the athlete must work harder to be able to pull the towel towards them due to the weight on the end. This can clearly also be used when going from side to side when they pull their towel from lateral to medial and medial to lateral. This will help encourage dorsiflexion and encourage ankle range of motion. Marble pickups requires both dexterity of the toes and strength of the ankle, specifically focusing on dorsiflexion. The athlete must also have range of motion at the toes and the ankle to do this exercise. To increase the difficulty of this exercise, the size of the marbles can be changed and the number picked up can increase. During weeks 6 through 8, we are only restricted from doing resisted plantar flexion, and so we introduce wall squats with the Swiss ball, 3-way ankle TheraBand without plantar flexion, isometric plantar flexion exercises, standing 4-way hip bands, and modified heel touches to address strength. A proper ball wall squat has the athlete with their feet shoulder width apart and placed out in front of them. They should then lower themselves without letting their knees cross their toes as low as they can with an aim to get to 90 degrees. Here our athlete is able to go lower than 90 safely and keep good form. 3-way ankle TheraBand should be performed in dorsiflexion, inversion, and eversion. To instruct dorsiflexion, have the patient bring their toes up towards their face and then control the descent of their foot back down to neutral. When performing eversion, tell the patient to turn the bottom of their foot away from the other foot and hold their lower leg so that the movement is actually occurring at the ankle and not at the lower leg. When performing inversion, this is very similar to eversion. Tell the patient to move the bottom of their foot towards the other foot and then hold their lower leg again. When performing isometric plantar flexion, have the patient have their foot against a solid surface and push down slightly to contract the calf. Here we are showing it at 90 degrees. 4-way hip bands involve moving the hip through flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction against resistance. During this time, it is important to watch for excessive rotation at the hips or any trunk flexion. Additionally, the athlete should be performing each motion in a straight plane, without rotation, to ensure that there is adequate gluteal activation, specifically focusing on the glute med. To perform modified heel touches, the athlete should stand on a box on their injured leg with a stick or a crutch for support. They should then lower their leg by bending their knee, keeping their knee in front of their ankle, to a position with no pain. On the uninjured leg, they should lower their leg all the way down so that the heel of the injured foot touches the ground, following the same form as with the uninjured leg. To increase the difficulty, increase the height of the box. The 5th problem we are addressing is decreased hip, knee, and ankle active range of motion. During weeks 3 through 5, we are addressing this decrease in range of motion through manual plantar flexion stretching and gentle active dorsiflexion, inversion, and eversion in a non-painful range. When performing prone plantar flexion stretching, the athlete should lay on their stomach and have their knee bent. The clinician will then push their toe up towards the ceiling until resistance is met. They will hold this for 30 seconds, then come back to neutral. This can also be done with the leg extended, if need be. However, this position is easiest for the clinician to stretch the ankle and encourage plantar flexion. Active dorsiflexion, inversion, and eversion should be done by the patient both at home and in the clinic. They should do this in a non-painful range, and they can also do it in elevation to encourage the movement of edema away from the foot and ankle. This is important to teach the patient because it is critical for maintaining range of motion. In weeks 6 through 8, we are addressing a decrease in range of motion through continuation of active range of motion ankle exercises, adding plantar flexion, adding in seated BAPS board, and including ankle circles, humps, and ABCs from earlier. The BAPS board is fantastic for encouraging ankle range of motion. First, have the athlete touch at noon, 6 o'clock, 3 o'clock, and 9 o'clock as if they were looking at a clock face. Then have the athlete roll around the entire edge of the board like they were going around the world. This will encourage all ankle motions by providing circumduction. To increase the difficulty of BAPS board exercises, a larger ball underneath the board can be used. The same exercises should be performed with this larger ball as were with the smaller ball. The 6th problem we are addressing is difficulty with ADLs and an altered gait. During weeks 3 through 5, we are addressing altered gait and difficulty with ADLs through weight shifts on solid ground and stationary bike in our boot with the heel on the pedal. We cannot do plantar flexion yet, so we must keep our heel on the pedal and not move to the toe. Weight shifts help the athlete get comfortable with putting their body weight over their injured limb again. Weight shifts can be performed by rocking from side to side, going up onto the heels and rolling back down, and also having the foot one in front of the other and shifting weight from the back foot to the front foot to the back foot again. Because active plantar flexion and resistive plantar flexion are not yet allowed, we should make sure that we avoid doing either of these, and thus when we are rocking back onto our heels and come back down, we cannot go up onto our toes. Stationary bike with the heel on the pedal will encourage normal motion at all joints and help with cardiovascular fitness, and thus should be included. During weeks 6 through 8, because we are able to do plantar flexion, we can introduce deep water pool exercises with submersion up to the shoulder using buoyancy to take off 75% of the weight. We will do weight shifts and pool walking in the water. We also introduce step-ups and side steps on boxes in the athletic training clinic. Step-ups and side steps help the athlete get comfortable with walking on uneven surfaces and going upstairs. For step-ups, the athlete should lead with their injured foot and follow through with their uninjured foot, and then they should step down with their injured foot and lead through with their uninjured foot. When going back, they should lead with their injured foot and follow through with their uninjured foot. A cane can be used or a stick can be used to help support them when they are doing this exercise and encourage good form and help with balance. When doing side steps, the athlete should initially lead with their injured foot and follow with their uninjured foot, and then they should step down with their injured foot and go with their uninjured foot. This can be repeated heading back to the other side. Always, when progressing side steps and step-ups, moving to a larger box or removing the cane support would make this exercise more difficult for the athlete. In weeks 6 through 8, the stationary bike should be continued with the toe on the pedal. This will help to encourage the normal plantar flexion motion that occurs during riding a bike and thus translate into gait. And the 7th problem we are addressing is compromised balance on the involved extremity. During weeks 3 through 5, balance is addressed through Swiss ball weight shifts, crutch-assisted single leg balance, and two-leg balancing on an uneven surface. If the uneven surface is too hard, two-legged balance will start on a solid surface and progress to uneven. When performing Swiss ball weight shifts, the feet should be a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. The athlete can rock from one foot to the other, and the uneven surface of the ball will force better balance. Additionally, the athlete can rock forward and back. With crutch-assisted single-leg stance, most of the weight is put on the foot and not the crutch. The crutch is there to help catch them. Two-legged balance on an uneven surface should start with the feet far apart and bring them closer together eventually so they touch. As the feet come closer together, the difficulty of the exercise increases. During weeks 6 through 8, balance is addressed by progressing the single leg stance to no crutch assist on a solid surface and eventually to eyes closed, and introducing two-leg balance with a basketball pass to make it sport specific. When performing single leg stance, have the athlete be in front of a mirror so that they can align their lower body correctly with their knee over their foot. Performing two-leg balance with a basketball pass makes it more fun for the athlete and sport specific. Have them get into their ready position as long as this is a non-painful position for them.
Good.